Hello, good morning, class. I hope everyone is doing well. Right. So you all know we have started a new chapter in the last week, in the last class. That is chapter number 5, heat and temperature. All right, where we have learned about the heat, the concept of heat, isn't it, and the units in which heat is measured. We also saw the relationship between joule and calories and kilocalories, isn't it? So today we'll be learning the two main topics of the chapter, that is heat and temperature. Okay, so most of the time people think that heat and temperature are same. Okay, but see here, many people confuse heat and temperature. Though the two are related, they are not same. So heat and temperature, they are related to each other, but they are not same. Please remember this. Understand? You can find this topic on your book on page number 75, and I hope you are ready with a pencil to underline the things which I say. Okay, so now heat. We use the words hot and cold in our daily life on a number of occasions, isn't it? When it's too sunny day, we say it's hot day, but when there is no sun, isn't it, we call it during the winters, we call it as it's a cold day. So we have been using this term hot and cold many times in our day-to-day life. So our body may be hot or cold in comparison to other bodies. So when we are saying cold and hot, actually we are actually comparing it with the other bodies. For example, a metal vessel kept in the sun is hotter than a similar one kept inside a kitchen. Tea is hot, whereas ice cream is cold. You all know this, isn't it? So when you touch an hot object, okay, your hand becomes warm because heat flows from the object to your hand. So please make a note of this here. Heat flows from the object to your hand. So it is concluded that object is at a higher temperature. If you keep a cube of ice on the palm of your hand, okay, your hand feels cold because, now again mark this, heat, okay, because heat flows from your hand to the ice, you feel cold. So see, now why did I ask you to mark these 2 points? Is just to make you all realize that if you read this again, heat flows from the object into your hand. So when heat is flowing from object to your hand, you are feeling warm, that is hot. So when you are gaining heat energy, so when you gain heat energy, जब तिम्रो जिउले heat energy पाउँछ त्यति बेला चाहिँ you feel hot. Now if you read this line again, heat flows from your hand to the ice, you feel cold. So when you lose, so when heat is lost, you feel cold. So this is a very important concept that you must understand. So when do you feel hot? When you gain heat energy, or when heat energy reaches to your body. Understand? So when you are in the sun, you are getting heat from the sun. That is why you are feeling hot. But in the winters, what happens? Your body is losing heat energy. So when you lose heat energy, you feel cold. So the concept of hot and cold is actually because of the gain or loss of heat energy. Okay, so the transfer of energy from one body to another is because of the heat produced by each body or the temperature difference between them. So when there is a temperature difference, there is a transfer of heat energy. So this, underline this, transfer of heat is associated with temperature difference. Understand? So where heat energy flows from higher one body to cold body because of the difference in temperature. So thus, please underline here, this is your definition of heat energy. So heat can be defined, you can rub this, okay, heat can be defined as the energy transferred from one body to another because of the temperature difference between them. So this is the definition of heat. So if I ask you, define heat, if the question is define heat, your answer will be heat can be defined, or heat is defined as the energy transferred from one body to another, okay, because of the temperature difference between them. All right, okay. Now heat always transfers from hot body to cold body when they are brought in contact with each other. Another important thing to be noted here, from here to here, put a star mark here. So heat always, remember, always transfers from hot body to cold body. Hot to cold, not from cold to hot. Please remember, heat energy always flows from hot body to cold body. Okay, you can find this paragraph on your book on page number 75 below the figure number 5.3. Okay, I have not copied the figure here, but if you see your book properly, you'll get this paragraph, okay, which is below the figure number 5.3 on your page number 75. All right, so the amount of heat energy depends on the amount of matter present in the body. For example, a heated swimming pool contains much more heat than a pan of boiling water. This is because there is much more water in the swimming pool than in the pan. So another important thing to remember, the amount of heat present in a body also depends on the amount of matter. See, please take a note of this. Amount of heat, okay, energy depends on the amount of matter present in the body. So in a body, if you have a big or a large body, amount of energy stored in will be much more. Like it's just like a tank. If you have a small water tank or a small bucket of water, okay, so okay, take one example. You have a bucket of water and there is a big tank. Okay, so where will be the water more? Water will be more in a big tank as compared to a bucket of water. So amount of heat energy will be more in a big what? Body or object. All right. So what I'm trying to say you here is that the energy, the heat energy contained in a body also depends on the what amount of matter in the body. So it is not only that temperature decides or temperature tells you the amount of heat energy present in a body. Along with temperature, mass of the object also determines the amount of heat energy present in an object. All right. Okay, so now turn your book to page number 76. On page number 76, you will find this topic called sources of heat. Now, what are the sources of heat energy? Sun, fire, and electricity. These three are the main source of heat energy. The sun is the natural and it is also called as the ultimate source of heat and light energy. So, ultimate source of energy. Ultimate source of energy is sun. Okay, all living beings on earth get heat from the sun. Plants use light of the sun to synthesize their food, and which we call as photosynthesis, isn't it? Green plants, they have green pigment in them called chlorophyll, and with the help of this green pigment called chlorophyll, plants prepare their own food, isn't it? Yes, and during the production of this food, they also produce carbon dioxide. Yes, no, they produce oxygen. Okay, they produce oxygen. All right, so now fire is known to man since the Stone Age. Early man produced the fire by rubbing two stones together. You have studied in history, isn't it? He used the fire to protect himself from the cold, to frighten the wild beast, isn't it? And to melt copper and iron for making tools and weapons for himself. So, in early days, fire was used by the early man for three purposes. Number one is to protect himself from the cold. Number two is to frighten the wild animals. जङ्गलको एनिमल्सहरूलाई आफूबाट टाढो राख्नको लागि they used to burn fire. And number three is to melt copper and iron. And why they need to melt the copper and iron? To make weapons. Okay, to make weapons, because in those days they do not have what specialized weapons with them, so they used to make by themselves, isn't it? Yes, bows, spears, isn't it? So domestically, fire is used to cook food. Nowadays we use fire to cook food. We get fire from wood, daura, isn't it? Kerosene, that is our matti tel, coal, koila, and LPG. And what is the full form of LPG? Liquefied petroleum gas. Gradually, it was realized that fire could cause damage to the property and loss of life. So finally, it was needed to differentiate between the flammable and non-flammable. So now in the next topic, we'll be studying what do you mean by flammable and non-flammable. flammable substances. You will read about these substances later in this chapter. So heat from electricity is used for various purposes at homes, isn't it? Can you tell me some examples how the heat from the electricity is used? Number one is iron. When you are ironing your clothes, what do? You connect the iron with the electricity, isn't it? And iron gets heated up. Yes, similarly you have heaters, isn't it? Yes, to make your room warm in the winters, isn't it? Yes. Okay, then after that you have nowadays you have inductions also, where you can cook food with the help of electricity. Yes, so heat from electricity is also used for many purposes in our home. All right, so now the next topic that you have is flammable and non-flammable substances. What are the substances which are called flammable and the substances which are called non-flammable? Now let us see. Flammable substances are those substances, please underline this, which can catch fire at once, quickly, very quickly, as their ignition temperature is quite low. See, like petrol, isn't it? Like kerosene, yes, diesel. What happens as soon as you bring a burning fire near to them, they catch fire at once. So those substances which what catch fire very quickly is called flammable substances. All right, yes, but at the same time, okay, if you bring a glass or an iron nail near to the fire, does it catch fire at once? No, it does not catch fire. So they are not called flammable substances. Okay, now let us understand this term called ignition temperature. So underline from here. The minimum temperature required by a substance to catch fire and start to burn is known as ignition temperature. For example, liquid fuels like petrol, spirit, kerosene, and gases like methane, hydrogen, LPG, etc. catch fire at once. So that is the reason, okay, the flammable substances should be handled with great care. Hence, the fire extinguisher, agoni baune, fire extinguisher should be installed to those places where such substances are stored. Okay, that is why smoking is banned at petrol pumps and gas agencies, etc. So those substances, okay, catch fire very quickly at once are called flammable substances. Now non-flammable substances or materials are those substances, please underline this, which do not catch fire quickly as their ignition temperature is quite high. Understand? So it is very easy to handle and store such materials. For example, utensils made of steel or aluminium, glasswares, ceramics, stones, etc. are non-flammable materials. Now glasswares भनेको चाहिँ बोतलले बनेको सामानहरु. Okay. Now ceramics means, have you seen some cups which are made up of we call it as china cup, china clay, isn't it? Made up of china clay. So china clay le banneko devices utensils are called ceramics, and stones are called non-flammable materials. Okay, so I guess you have understood between flammable and non-flammable substances, right? Yes. So till now, what did we study? We studied about heat. We learned about the definition of heat, isn't it? Yes. Then we learned about when do we feel hot and when do we feel cold. It is because of the heat gained and heat lost. So when we gain heat, we feel hot. When we lose heat, we feel cold. Understand? Then what did we learn? We learned that the flow of heat from one body to another body depends on the temperature of the body, isn't it? Then we learned about sources of heat energy. Yes, sun, fire, electricity were the sources, very common sources, or we can say main sources of heat energy, right? And now here we learned about flammable and non-flammable substances. Okay, so now we are going to learn the last topic for today. Okay, that is temperature. Now what is temperature? Underline, the degree of hotness or coldness of an object is called its temperature. Now degree of hotness, ओके कतिको तातो छ अथवा कतिको चिसो छ one object. Okay, so you have one object. Okay, how hot or how cold is that object? That is determined by this temperature. Now let me give one more example. You are served with a cup of hot tea. Hot tea. Okay, your friend is served with a cup of hot coffee. So you see that both of them are hot, but which one is hotter? Which one is hotter? You will not be able to know which one is hotter until and unless you know their temperature. Understand? Suppose I say I offered you the hot tea, a cup of hot tea, which is at 40 degrees Celsius, and I offer you a hot cup of coffee, which is at 50 degrees Celsius. So both of them are hot, but since coffee is at a temperature of 50 degrees Celsius, whereas tea is at just 40 degrees Celsius, so your coffee is going to be hotter as compared to tea, because the temperature of coffee is higher, that is 50 degrees Celsius. Understand? So the temperature of an object, okay, increases with increase in heat and decreases on absorption of heat from it. So here we learned that temperature is the what main quantity which tells you how hot or how cold is an object. Understand? Similarly, one person, okay, suppose I give you a bottle of Coke kept in a fridge. Okay, similarly, another person or another teacher gives you ice cream. So which one is going to be more chilled or more cold? So that will depend on their temperature. Suppose say the Coke I gave you or the soft drink I gave you was at 10 degrees Celsius, whereas the ice cream given to you by other teacher was at 0 degrees Celsius. So which one is more colder here? Ice cream, isn't it? Because it is at lower temperature. So lower the temperature, more is the coldness, and higher is the temperature, more is the hotness. So this degree of hotness and coldness of an object is given by this physical quantity called temperature. All right, yes, so it is called temperature. So that's it for today. In the next class we will learn how this temperature can be measured. So for your just brief information, temperature is measured by a device called thermometer, which we will be learning in the next class. All right, so that's all for today. Thank you.